listening to the new Arizona Real Estate Matters Show with your hosts, Phil Putnam and Josh Peacock. And now, here's Phil and Josh.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Arizona Real Estate Matters. Brought to you by, they sound the same. Brought to you by Empire West Title. I am your host, Phil Putnam, and sitting across from me, as always, is our co-host, Josh Peacock. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Phil, and I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So we're after the 4th of July. Are we officially in the dog days of summer?
Yes.
I don't know.
Normally, they start in June in the real estate industry because things get, this morning I'm getting ready for work, and we tape on Thursday, so for those of you who are listening, it's supposed to be like 1:14 today or something like that on Thursday, and but I was listening to the news in the morning, getting ready to go, and they said that the hottest day in June this year was only 111 degrees. Huh. Now, for you that are listening somewhere else, you might go, "Oh, really? Only 111 degrees?" Yeah. But for June, that's actually very good.
I was just saying that, I've been here long enough to feel like that's a nice day.
Yeah,
I might need to bring a parka.
You do a light sweater.
A light sweater.
It's crazy that June was. It was a weird month. Yeah. I mean, the real estate market was still fairly, stable. And we didn't see our normal summer dip that I normally see. I mean, we weren't seeing the big spring numbers, but usually we see that dip in June, July, and going into August. And,
speak for yourself. I had a little dip in June, but anyway,
ours didn't.
Okay.
But here we have lower than normal temperatures in June, and buyers were out buying. Sure. Maybe that's why they're out buying, is because we didn't have 122 degrees.
Lower than normal temperatures at 111.
But you're right. Here it is. It's like, we have 107, 105, 104, whatever. And here it is the day after July 4th. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be 114. So, yes. Yeah. Today is officially the start of the dog days of summer.
Days. Here we go.
And it will last until July. Well,
September.
No. So, because I brought it up. I saw it on Facebook. July 22nd is when all the rookies and the quarterbacks report to camp for the Cardinals. July 22nd. Then the rest of the guys are a couple days later, and the official practices start on July 28th. That's the first practice that's open to the public out at University of Phoenix Stadium is July 28th for the Cardinals. And if you guys have never been out there to watch a practice, it's free of charge. You don't have, you just parking's great. You walk on in, sit wherever you want. Sometimes you can sit right on the field, not on the field.
Do they have shaded areas?
At University of Phoenix Stadium?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's a dome stadium.
Okay, I thought we were talking about.
Have you not been to a Cardinal game?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you not seen that big?
I didn't. I must have missed the part about it being at Arizona Cardinal Stadium. So,
yes.
Sorry about that.
And it's air conditioned. So, yes, you're sitting inside, beautiful 75-degree air conditioned weather, watching the Cardinals practice, and you get right up close. That's great.
That actually sounds like that's fun.
It is. It's a blast.
It's cool to see them practice and then watch the product on Sunday, see what they're working on.
Oh, yeah, and it's also kind of cool to see how remedial sometimes, it's like, you're watching them practice, and they're going through these little remedial drills that are very fundamental, very, very, very fundamental based. And it's like, wow, these guys still do all the little things that they used to do back in Pop Warner and that kind of thing. So from now until then, those are officially the dog days of summer. Because once that starts, we don't even think about it.
Then you're just numb. It still could be the dog days of summer, but you're just numb to it because football starts.
Exactly.
Okay, exactly. I got
you. Josh, I ran across this article, and I thought this was unbelievably interesting. This article says that homes are more affordable today than they were from 1985 to the year 2000.
Okay.
Now we're talking about affordability a lot in our industry, and as prices rise, as interest rates go up, we see all these articles, you see all these people talking about how we can't afford anything. Prices are going up. Affordability is now in question. Rates are going up. Now the payments are higher on these things. Well, let me give you a little bit of information here.
Right.
From 1985 to 2000, the monthly mortgage payments on a typical American home as a percentage of median income. So basically what this means is that whatever your income is, what percentage of that went to your house payment?
Yep. Your PITI payment.
Correct.
Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
So from 1985 to 2000, it was 21%.
Now, 85 to 2000, your ratio, your front end ratio was 21%.
21%.
And I believe what we can confer with our lender guest here, but I think FHA is at 29 or 31 sometimes on the front end ratio, right? Yes. Okay. Yes. I got a thumbs up. So that's good.
So
yeah,
okay,
we're under that.
So we are under that now. In the year 2006, which was a year before. Now this is the boom. This is the crescendo of the real estate boom in 2006. The year before everything started to crash, it was at 25.4%.
Okay.
So from 1985 to 2000, 21% of your income was for your house payment. Year 2006, 25.4.
Yep.
In the first quarter of 2018, we're at 17.1%.
Awesome. Wow.
So it's actually more affordable today than it was from 85 to 2000. So we're talking 15 years worth of real estate there. It was an average of 21% of your income went to your house payment. And here it is in 2018 when everybody's on their hands and knees going, oh my God, affordability is getting out of control. We can't afford it. The houses prices are too high. And the interest rates are going up 17.1%.
See, this is actually a really good way to look at it too, because you could look at payments in 1986, and obviously you're going to have lower payments, but we are also going to have higher interest rates. But obviously we have higher income as we go along. So really, if you want to just cut to the quick and really look at it from that percentage, this is the way to do it. Take a look at their total PITI payment and compare it to their monthly income.
And that's why it's not so much of a physical thing, because if it was a physical thing, you're way below historically over the last, from 1985 till now, historically what they consider affordable.
Yeah.
You're at 17.1%. So it's a mental thing. You got to get over that mental thing that house prices are here and interest rates are there. Now I'll give you a comparison. In 1985 to 2000, 21% of your income went to your house payment. Now, if rates were to go to 5%, which we're seeing rates in the high 4s to low 5s. That means 19%. That's today.
Okay.
19% of your income would go to your house payment. If rates went to 6% or higher, it would be at 21%, which would match 1985 to 2000. And for it to go over that 21% threshold, rates have to go to 7%. Okay. And I can tell you right now, I don't see rates going to 7% in the foreseeable future. I see them creeping maybe into the 6s, but I don't need that's even kind of high, to be honest with you. I think we're going to see a stabilization of rates somewhere between where they're at now and maybe the mid 5s.
Yeah. And Brian, we're going to give you this one for when you have borrowers complaining, saying, you know what, my payments, well, you can just bring this up that historically you're less. So we'll give you that one.
Well, one of the things you said earlier, this is a great way to look at it. I saw an article about, potentially, and again, this is just a bunch of economists who have the ability to write an article. There's a possibility of a recession in 2020. Well, okay, what does that mean? Well, that means that a recession means we're not growing. Okay. Well, if we're flat, or we dip 0.001, that can be considered a recession, right? And one of the things that they were saying is that could contribute to this is we've had, and this is what they said in the article, 10 years of growth. Okay. Well, I say that's not true. Yeah. What we've had is 10 years of recovery. Yeah. We're just now getting back to where we were. Yeah. So now the growth begins. Now, in my opinion, if you really, really want to look at it, from 2007 to 2017 was recovery. Now we're starting the growth. Yeah. So if 2020 is true, then we'd only have about 3 years of growth. To be honest with you. So it's all how you look at it. It's all in perception. So in talking about also affordability, I ran across another article.
This is a good one.
That I thought this gives more credence to the fact on why buyers, or not buyers, but people need to buy homes.
Sure.
So Metro Phoenix renters must earn almost $20 an hour to afford an apartment.
Yep. Oh, wow.
$20 an hour. There's a ton of people out there not making $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Not making 20. Metro Phoenix renters need to earn $19.50 an hour to afford a decent 2-bedroom apartment.
It says that the typical renter in the state makes about $16.54 an hour. So you're off there. We have a disparity in the Phoenix renter market.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing: rents are equal to or higher than what house payments are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, did you read the end part of this? You want me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
In Arizona, a renter must work 70 hours per week, making $18.46 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom home. Awesome. The typical renter in the state makes about $16.54 an hour.
So if you've got rents that are equal to or higher than what house payments are, okay, and we've talked about this many times, and Brian, our lender guest today, and even Kurt, our realtor guest today, can tell you that there are tons of homes out there where the payments are equal to or lower than what some rents are.
Yeah.
So if you take this and you apply it to owning a home, you don't have to make as much to own a home than you do to rent.
Yeah. And we've brought this up in the past too. In some cases, you know, a lot of people say, well, you got to have a down payment. Well, you know what? You can do a down payment assistance programs. There's a possibility you can get the seller maybe to pay. I don't know in this day and age if you can get the seller to pay. But nonetheless, you can almost get into a house for nothing. A lot of times with an apartment, you know, you got to get first month rent. You got to give a pet deposit, you know, whatever, security deposit. It can start getting expensive. Absolutely. So it makes sense to buy.
We had some people over at our house last night, and there is a cousin-in-law, I guess you could call him.
Yeah.
I don't talk to the guy very much. He came by with his son, and it's actually my niece's husband. And real estate came up a little bit, and you know, and he talked about they were moving from a 2-bedroom apartment into a 1-bedroom apartment because they could save $200 a month. And I said, well, why haven't you thought about buying? Why are you doing this? Why don't you look into buying? He was like, oh, no, my credit score is really bad. Now, granted, the guy actually told me he had a credit score that was very low, very, very low. And I said, well, there are a lot of lenders out there that will work with you to increase your credit.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that. The other thing he didn't know, and he said, is I don't have a down payment. He had no idea. And again, if I would have talked to him much sooner, I don't see him that much, I would have told him this stuff. I said, there's down payment assistance programs out there. I said, you could be living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for probably equal to or less than what your rent is for that 2-bedroom apartment that you're moving out of to that 1-bedroom. I mean, it just doesn't make sense for
ownership
people.
And pride in home ownership is huge.
Even with a very low FICO score, there are people out there to help you.
Yeah.
Our lender guest today, Brian Bailey, he will do the same thing. Yeah. There's so many companies out there that are willing to help people get from point A to point B so they can become buyers. There's down payment assistance programs. There's literally, in my opinion, no reason why anybody today or in the near future should not be standing in line saying, I want to buy a home.
Yeah. And you know what? Like lenders, Brian Bailey may be one of them. There's lots of them out there that, like you said, do have credit restoration. I wouldn't say, they do have programs that you can get into that help you repair your credit and help you become a homeowner. So, there's definitely no reason to not take a look at home ownership.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of it is just not knowing. People don't know. They look at their situation and they say, well, my FICO score is this and I don't have any money. I'm just going to be stuck renting for a long time and prices are going up and rates are going up. Well, guys, it's more affordable today to own a home than it was from 1985 to 2000. So it's not nearly as bad as you might think. We got a great show today. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. Our first guest today is Brian Bailey. He is with GSF Financial, which I believe is part of the GSF Mortgage Corporation, right, Brian?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome to the show, and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Name's Brian Bailey. Started in the business about 10 years ago. Not as quite as 20, 30-year season as some people can brag about, but I think I
don't know if that's a good thing or a curse. I'm not real sure about that.
I don't know. Everything's changed so much in the last 5 years that I think it kind of negates anything previously. It's a completely different world nowadays, but come from the Midwest, come from northern Minnesota. It's same kind of values in the company. They're based out of Milwaukee. And just have a local operation here to make sure we take care of our borrowers. We have programs such as our Finance First, which is my favorite, and that's getting borrowers truly pre-approved before they go out, so that way they don't have to deal with the heartaches of going out and start looking and then realizing you can't. If you watch we got Hulu recently at the house. We haven't had TV for a long time since actually 2008. We got Hulu recently just to watch the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And in the meantime, I've been watching some Property Brothers and some Fixer Uppers and, the gains over in Waco and stuff. And
the scourge of the real estate industry.
Exactly.
HGTV stuff. And
I'm a part-time hamster farmer, but I wanted this $1 million place in New York.
Sure. Yeah.
But in watching that, it was the idea of taking people into homes and the heartache that they have to deal with and not understanding that the reality of where they actually sit, where if they could start the process up front, no questions, no uncertainties going into it, take that stress out of it, and then get them to that point, and then turn them over to somebody like Kurt, who's going to take them and show them within their realms, so then it can be a enjoyable process rather than kind of a demeaning process.
And finance it's a fully underwritten loan, basically, subject to the appraisal, inspection, and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I get the application, run the credit, kind of get what's needed, take the basics, the system, what the application looks like it's going to need. We get them underwritten for their credit, their income, their assets, all the details that they're going to need as far as the borrower is concerned. Then we just need somebody like Kurt to marry up that product with a house, and then underwrite the house, the appraisal, and boom, we're done.
I wanted to ask you, because in the intro segment we talked a little bit about credit, and I know that we were talking we were talking about banks that will help you with credit and lenders that'll help you with credit, and I believe you had an actual situation that you just helped a couple people get across the finish line that had some credit issues.
Yeah, we started the process. They got referred to me by an agent, and they were just kind of felt hopeless in their scenario, and we turned around and ran their credit, kind of saw what the basics we're looking at, and I went through my suggestions. We did a soft pull, so that way it didn't hurt their credit to look at it. Yeah. Just went in, took a snapshot, and said, okay, here's what I need you to do. Okay. In 3 months, let's revisit it, see how you're sitting. Took another snapshot. Okay, great, things are looking really good. And then as we got closer, then we
pulled the three file merge credit.
Exactly.
Report.
Otherwise, if you don't start somewhere, you're not going to get anywhere. Yeah. I'm sure somebody much smarter than myself came up with that quote, or a more elegant quote than that.
Sure, it might have been the first time I've heard that.
or so non-eloquently put, anyways. But the fact is that maybe you're not ready today. Don't feel bad about that. Don't feel shamed about that. If you're not ready today, let's get you on that path. So in 6 months, you are ready. Maybe it'll take a year, but at least you're on that path going there. And that's where every journey begins. You have to take that first step.
Yeah.
Well, those individuals that always have an excuse for something, the reason they have is because they haven't talked to the professionals. Mm-hmm. We were talking during the break, and there's so much, talking about HGTV and these fix and flip shows and Property Brothers and all that stuff. If you want great design ideas, knock yourself out. Those are great shows to watch. But as far as the reality of what buying real estate and flipping real estate is concerned, don't take it verbatim. That's for sure, because that's not even remotely close. And we were talking about, it's like, if you really want to know what's going on in the real estate industry, don't watch TV, don't watch the shows, don't watch the news, because I was watching the news one night and they said something about real estate. That was the information was 6 months old. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not a true representation of what's going on in our market. And if you really want to know what's going on in the market, whether it be if you're a potential buyer or borrower or a seller, contact yourself. Call the professionals. Call Kurt, who's your realtor guest today. When we give out the phone numbers, call these guys and say, okay, here's where I'm at. What can I do? Can I buy? Can I sell? What? Give me the truth.
And how much of that news that you get is local news? Even within Phoenix, Arizona, what's our population? 6 million?
6 million, yeah.
Okay, so the going-ons of Apache Junction versus Chandler versus Scottsdale versus Glendale versus Surprise versus Flagstaff. I mean, where are you getting your news from? It's completely different.
Across the valley, exactly. Well, okay, so you've got areas of town where not just a mile or two away, it's a different climate. not just cities, but a mile or two away.
You've got areas out by you where there's one, the 55 plus area and next to a
absolutely.
Just crazy.
Because during the real estate crash, you had the 55 plus area didn't get hurt as bad. Where just across Bell Road, 100 yards away, you had people that were, their houses were plummeting like crazy and they were doing short sales like crazy. But 100 yards across Bell Road, the 55 plus area is like, we're
okay.
So that is a good example, But you've got another example where I live where you have Surprise and then you have El Mirage. Well, El Mirage doesn't have a price per square foot. It's just literally right across Dysart or whatever road it is, and Surprise has a higher one. But this goes on throughout the valley. That's not just in my area. So then you're talking about not only that, but Arizona compared to other states. You can't compare apples and oranges, and that's what these people are doing, especially people coming from other places. Well, this is not how we did it where I'm from. Well, welcome to Arizona. It's not how, if you move to California, it's not how we do it in Arizona either.
Yeah, and you're not going to go buy your meat at the butcher shop, and you're not going to go buy bread at the bakery. You're going to go to Fry's and get it all in one shot.
But what you see on TV, it's a mix mash of all that stuff. And that's what people think. Well, this is the way it is everywhere. Exactly. That's why you need to call. That's why if you're a buyer or a potential seller, you need to call these individuals and say, okay, what's going on out there? And you will, Brian, I know for a fact, and Kurt would as well. You'll tell them exactly the truth. This is what it's like out there. And sometimes it's very pleasant news because wow, I can actually buy a home. Or, let's say it's a seller going, wow, I have that much equity. I didn't realize I had that much equity in my home. This is really cool. We can take that. We can downsize because we're getting older in life and all that stuff. I didn't realize now I can pay cash for that next home. They had no idea.
Or they can use a reverse for purchase if they're that segment where they can turn around and cash out that equity, take half of it, buy the next house that's the same size of what they just moved out of or the same value that they just moved out of, maybe upscaled the neighborhood but downscaled the size, but moved in there. And now they have a retirement and a home and no mortgage.
Well, it's one of the coolest programs out there is out H4P. H4P, yep. And it's a reverse for purchase mortgage.
And I want to talk about that when we come back from break too, because a huge amount of our population is getting older. And as they get older, this needs to be looked at as a viable, it's not the old days of reverse mortgages. They're now government insured. They're very, very safe. I actually did a reverse mortgage escrow refi last month. And this month we're doing a reverse mortgage purchase this month. And it's no different than a regular loan. Some of the nuts and bolts on the interior are a little bit different, and you'll give us those nuts and bolts when we come back from a break. We're talking to Brian Bailey with GSF Mortgage Corporation. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. We are talking to Brian Bailey. He is a loan officer with GSF Mortgage Corporation. And Brian, we talked before the break, and we want to spend a vast majority of the time talking about reverse mortgages. They're not just for refis, which, I was pleasantly surprised to find out, I think it was about a year or so ago, that you can actually purchase a home with a reverse mortgage. And I'm actually doing an escrow with one of those right now, which honestly on my end of it as an escrow officer, I'm not really seeing any difference as far as what I do. So it's not like some weird thing that we have to relearn or anything like that. So tell us how advantageous reverse mortgages, how one, advantageous, and two, how safe they are either for refi or a purchase.
Well, they have the new reverse nowadays it's government insured. It's an FHA product. The government's there to protect the elderly in situations, keeping them protected from scam artists and the vultures out there. That they most of them have gone to the wayside, but they're still out there. They're essentially the biggest misconception, as we were talking on break, Phil, is that people believe that once you pass away, that the bank's going to get that property, and that couldn't be more wrong.
And I've had that question a lot. You know,
Yes.
I mean, some people said, well, we've thought about doing a reverse mortgage, but the last thing we want is the bank to get the house after we pass away, which is a complete fallacy. That is not true whatsoever.
So what happens is somebody gets in a situation. Let's say you have that 3,500 square foot house that the kids have moved out a while ago. You're getting into that age bracket where you want to do more things. Let's say your kids have one's in New York, one's in LA, and one's in Minneapolis. I'll pick Minnesota. And you want to be able to travel and visit the grandkids. Well, you're sitting on this 3,500 square foot house in Mesa. You don't need that. So let's say it's worth $600,000. You can turn around and call up Kurt, list that house for $600,000, turn around and buy a townhome, really nice townhome over on the golf course, say in Gold Canyon. There's some beautiful places over
absolutely.
there. You could go buy a $600,000 townhome. Take $300,000 of that six that you just sold your house for. Take $300 of it, put it down on a reverse for purchase. So, as Kurt is listing your property, he's finding you another. You put $300,000. Then you take the other $300,000 and help supplement your retirement. Now you have no payment. Yeah. Now, reverse mortgage, you still have to make your insurance and your taxes and your HOA payment. But as far as the actual principal and interest of it, you don't have to make that payment. You can. And a lot of times people are concerned, well, what this negative equity, it's going to eat away all my equity.
Pay the interest then.
Well, first of all, probably in one of your shows recently, you've talked about what the percentage of increase in value of the houses here. Mm-hmm. Well, you start putting that together and you scale it, and it kind of negates itself as equity eats away. The value is increasing, so they negate themselves. Well, if you're really concerned about it, make the interest payment.
The payment.
Yeah.
The principal's not going anywhere. And when that day comes, unfortunately, we got to talk about it. When that day comes and you pass along, and your beneficiaries are going to have a choice at that point. Do they keep the house? Well, they have, I believe it's 6 months to refinance it into their name, and they can keep it. If it's something that they don't want it, they can let the bank take care of it. The bank will sell it and pay off the mortgage and give them the rest of the money.
Or they can sell it themselves.
That would be the best option in that scenario, because you're going to get top dollar. You're going to call Kurt again and say, hey, remember that townhouse you got for my parents? Go ahead and we need to get that listed, and he'll make sure to get top dollar. The bank's not going to make sure to get top dollar.
No, they just want to get paid off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
they're worried about their interest, not
absolutely,
yours.
Absolutely.
But by no means are you losing your home. You still own your home as much as you own your home now. If you have a mortgage, it's the same scenario, and so I think that takes away a lot of the misconceptions that the reverse has.
Well, I tell you, we have millions and millions of baby boomers out there, people born between 44 and 64.
The largest growing group. It's overseen the millennials. It's overcome the millennial
Absolutely,
growth.
yeah. And as that group gets older, they're going to be primed for this type of product. You're going to see more and more and more of these, which is great. People need to pick up the phone, call you, and say, hey, what about this product? And we're going to get your number here in a minute. But tell us about the Affinity Group.
Yeah. Oh, the Affinity Group that is set up for the listeners of the Patriot.
Yes.
So if you want to go ahead and text me, my phone number is 480-420-7252. Text me the word Patriot. I'll make sure to reach out to you. We'll get you qualified. If you can't qualify today, no worries. I'm gentle about it. We'll get you qualified as soon as we possibly can, what makes sense for you. With that, you're going to get a 0.25% discount on the loan size. So if they got a $200,000 loan, we'll get you a $500 discount, and we'll also get you a free appraisal up to a $500 value.
Give us your phone number.
Yeah.
Again, it's 480-420-7252, and you can reach me at Brian, BRIAN, at myloanbuddy.net.
That's Brian Bailey with GSF Mortgage Corporation. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. Our next guest today is Kurt Nishimura. He is with RE/MAX Excalibur. Kurt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much.
And tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
I've been in the real estate business really for over 30 years. I started off in accounting at a commercial real estate firm and found myself in Pivotal Group in acquisitions, real estate acquisitions. It's one of the more profitable real estate investment companies here in Arizona. And in 2009, I actually went off on my own and started my own brokerage, and I also do consulting still for Pivotal Group and some other groups as well. My background includes hotels, senior living, multifamily, and luxury real estate, which includes residential.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a commercial or multifamily background on top of just the regular
Primarily
residential?
it's a hotel background.
Okay, hotels, okay.
But because multifamily basically is very similar products, same thing with senior living, I also delve into those areas as well.
Interesting.
That's
Interesting.
great.
Yeah, that's true. So, we were talking with Brian, about the bad information that's out there, or the incomplete amount of information. They give you nuggets. You watch these TV shows, they give you nuggets about how to do this, how to do that, and you got house hunters, you got flip this house, love it or list it, and all these other things like that. It's great. It creates interest in our industry, which is great, but it gives a lot of incomplete information. I'm going to say it's false information. It's just not complete information. But then when you see on the media, on the news or things like that, you're seeing a lot of old information, outdated information. How often are you having to battle this with buyers and sellers?
One of the things that I see a lot is people bring up the Zillow valuation.
Yeah.
And they've got a great format out there. It's customer friendly. Yeah. One of the things they do on the last page, though, is they give the data of actually the actual closing price versus what their valuation is.
Okay.
And it's very hidden in the back. And a lot of times,
Kind of a large difference there?
it's over a 10% difference.
That makes life, it can be very difficult on you, makes things difficult on you. Well, it could work in both ways, I suppose.
And, in some zip codes are a little bit closer than others, but in many, especially where there's a lot of renovation going on, unless you've actually walked into the house, you're not going to get a true valuation of the home.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of similar to, somebody calls up Brian and says, I just went on, freecreditreport.com and I've heard of people go, I've got a 940 FICO score. And I'm like, I don't even think 940 exists. I mean, it's the same thing. You got a lot of data information services out there that are, I don't think they're designed to deceive, but I think they're just designed to pique people's interest. I'm not real sure what they're designed for, because when it gets down to brass tacks, it's a lot different in the street level.
Well, a lot of times you'll have a splashy headline just to get people to read the article.
Yeah.
And some of that is national information, some of it is state information. You have to really read into the article to know what the perspective is. And unfortunately, a lot of times it doesn't apply to the individual person and their situation.
Or the individual area. Obviously there's localized markets, and you're reading stuff that's just generalized. And so definitely another factor.
Yeah. So, a lot of people even suggest that they are the local expert in their market. But there are apps out there where you can go and actually see what people's production is.
Okay.
And whenever I'm receiving an offer on a listing that I have, I go to that to see how many transactions they've actually done. Because a lot of times there's a lot of, unfortunately, people that are just doing this on a part-time basis.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing about, I've been doing this 20 years, and my question, okay, that's great. You've been licensed for 20 years, but how many deals have you done?
See, Kurt, that's really interesting, because I pull those reports. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I thought it would be something that would be a great tool for an agent that's, has another agent that's submitting an offer. And, you don't know, you may have an agent that does some business but has only worked with, with sellers, and now all of a sudden is a buy-side agent. So you can see all of that too, because that may make a difference. They may have a lot of business, but they've only worked on the list side, so interesting that you pull those. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and you also work in the luxury market.
Correct.
And that's a different animal. Again, we talked about comparing apples and oranges. The luxury market is a different animal compared to the standard residential market. Your standard, let's say $300,000 to $400,000 home, as opposed to a 1.5 or higher.
A lot of times on the luxury side, these will be pocket listings, or really they won't even show up on the MLS. And the reason for that, it might be a high-profile person. Like a few years ago, Shaquille O'Neal was here back in 2008 trying to chase the title.
Yep.
when he was no longer with Phoenix, he put his house for sale. He didn't want every person that was more a Shaquille O'Neal fan just to be walking into his home.
Sure.
So in order to make sure that they're qualified people, it was an off-market pocket listing.
Yeah.
And if you're not part of that group, if you're not part of that group, you're not part of that luxury market, you're not going to probably even know that this house is out there.
Yeah.
So that gives you an edge as well. So if you've got somebody presenting an offer, you might be able to because you can not only look at how many deals they've done, but the price range of the deals they've done. So is this person an experienced luxury agent?
Absolutely. Yeah, those reports are huge, and I'm really happy to hear that you pull those. So,
So, Kurt, you said something that I have never heard of, and at 35 years in the business, I've never heard of this. I know it sounds bells and whistles will go off. Really, Phil's never heard of something like this, though I never claimed to have seen or heard everything. But this one I thought was really, really cool. You called it right sizing. Explain what that is.
Right sizing is not something that I made up. I can't say that I branded it or anything like that, but it really depicts what a lot of people that they had their kids graduate from college. They've got this big house now. They want the same lifestyle that they've been accustomed to, but that house that they're in simply doesn't work for them right now anymore. Yeah. So what they want to do is what I say right sizing. They want to go into a community where it still has the same great restaurants, access to entertainment that they've been accustomed to. They want to still be around their circle of friends that they've been accustomed to, but they simply want something that's maintenance-free. So what they're doing, I like to call right sizing. And Brian mentioned the reverse to purchase option. So that's a great way if they had, let's say, a 7,000 square foot house and want to move something smaller and actually qualify for the reverse purchase, which I think is 62 and older.
Yep.
That would be a perfect kind of retirement option where they can maintain their lifestyle.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily downsizing, because that could have like a negative annotation to it. It's like, well, I'm downsizing. Correct. Well, you're not really downsizing. You're making a correction to make it right for you for the future.
Yep.
Correct. And, some of these houses that are sitting on 1 acre plus lots, just the monthly expense to maintain those is over $1,000. Yeah. And they don't have the kids anymore that are using the backcourt sports court. So it's really in their best interest to try to sell that and do something else.
Well, and they don't want to spend their weekends, working in the yard. And if that's what they like to do, it's like, it's kind of like you have a big house that needs to be cleaned, and there's more of it. And if you have a bigger yard, it needs to be maintained, and there's more of it. It's like, why not spend your free time enjoying the rest of what you have left?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, I got a question for you. On your bio that you give us here, it mentions here that you in 2018, you're the National Commercial Chair for the AREAA National and Treasurer for AREAA Global. What is AREAA?
That's the Asian Real Estate Association of America.
Okay.
Also known as AREAA.
Okay, AREAA. Okay,
you can look it up at.
It's a lot
easier to say.
Yeah.
Very, very easy. Yeah.
AREAA.org. But what it is it's to help Asian and Pacific Islanders and basically all diversity groups in general with sustainable home ownership. And one of the reasons why it was formed is Asians trail the national average in home ownership by double digits.
Now, why is that?
A lot of times, especially if you're an immigrant, you don't really know because the real estate laws are different in each country.
Yeah.
They might be coming from countries where the banking system is not stable, so they don't really know how to establish credit. A lot of times they're paying cash for a lot of things. So even though they're making their monthly rental payments on a timely basis, they're not getting credit for that through the credit report.
Okay.
So it's really an educational process on how to help them get to that American dream.
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting.
So this is not just a particular country. This is the Asian population.
Correct. Yeah.
And when you're talking the Asian population, you have some countries, predominantly Asian, such as Japan, where it's democratic, free country. People own real estate.
Correct.
Right across the China Sea, you have China.
Correct.
Communist country. Very few people own real estate. They have housing, which is great, but they just pay rent. Now you have somebody from Japan come over here, and they may be a little bit more accustomed to, okay, I can own a home. That's one thing. But somebody comes over from China, it's like, wait a minute, I can actually own real estate? I mean, so it's not just, I mean, you have to pretty much educate these people. Like, look, this is a possibility, correct?
Absolutely. In a communist country, you don't know with a regime change or something else whether or not they're going to be taking some of your wealth. And some of the high-profile athletes, Yao Ming, Li Na, they're going to be threatening to take some of their career earnings. So a lot of Chinese and Asians like to buy real estate because while they might be able to wire transfer money out of your account because they're national banks, it's very hard to take a piece of property from the United States and bring it back to China.
Yeah.
So
I think they've tried.
Yeah.
We had a lot of Chinese investment over the years, so I think they tried, and that's backed off a little bit. But there's still a lot of Asian investment in the United States, and not just China, but Japan and some of the other Asian countries.
Most of the investment has been on the West Coast because we're closest to China and those Asian countries. But they're starting to see the valuation differences where California is going for anywhere from $500 to $800 to $1,000 a square foot. Wow. You go across the border to Vancouver, they're paying over $1,500 per square foot.
$1,500 a square foot for real estate up in Vancouver.
Oh.
And I can afford about 10 square feet.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that you have a lot of Asians not immigrating from China, or I think they're coming a lot from California. I mean, into the Arizona state, in the state of Arizona, we have a large influx of Asians coming from California. So that's a great market.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of people aren't aware of, that for every 6 people that end up leaving California for various reasons, job relocation, whatever, one of those 6 people actually relocate to Arizona.
Yeah, we read that the other week on the show. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they still might have family over there, so they want to be close. They can live here, obviously, for pennies on the dollar compared to over in California. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it makes sense just to go one state away and be able to go, hey, wait a minute, I can do what with what, Or they sell that real estate over in California and they end up buying cash over here. And still put money in the bank.
How does AREAA help business? How does it help your business? How does it help clients?
Sure. For real estate professionals, you're tapping into a network of 39 chapters across North America. We have over 17,000 members.
Wow.
So if you want to be working the relocation business, you can be calling some of those California chapters where they have 1 out of 6 people moving to Arizona. And make connections and enjoy some of that referral business.
Gotcha.
Also, there are some people that leave Arizona where they're moving to a state where there's an AREAA chapter, and you can refer that to an agent over there and get a referral that way.
I think this is excellent. I've never actually even heard of this. I mean, I know we have a National Association for Hispanic and some other different types of groups of people, but I've never heard one for the Asian community. So I think this is phenomenal what you guys are doing here. But before your segment was over, I wanted to talk about these listings that you've got. You have one over on 65th Place in Paradise Valley. It's listed at $2,495,000. Tell us about that property.
Great. This is sitting on 1.3 acres. It's just under 7,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms. It's got a den, 5.5 baths, 4-car garage, built in 2000. It was a custom build.
It's gorgeous. The picture we have of it's just amazing. So
the nice part about it, it's sitting in between mountain shadows. They've got new home product there. That's going for about $600 a square foot.
Wow.
If you look at the Ritz-Carlton, which is east of the property, they're taking reservations between $800 and $1,000 per square foot.
Wow.
And this custom home is priced right now under $300 and $350 a square foot. It does need a little bit of renovation, but you can be all in after renovation for under $400 a foot. In a cul-de-sac at the best location within that cul-de-sac.
That's just phenomenal. You had another one, but we've run out of time. Kurt, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you.
Sure, it's Kurt Nishimura. I'm with RE/MAX Excalibur, 602-513-9335. Or you can look my email, kurt.nishimura@gmail.com.
That's Kurt Nishimura with RE/MAX Excalibur. Our other guest today was Brian Bailey with GSF Mortgage Corporation. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Josh, another great show. We will talk to you guys next week.